Okay guys, we're about to do an extremely controversial video about masturbation and if we think it's actually wrong. I've been afraid to do this video for a while, but it's inspired by a lot of your emails. I've been hearing from a lot of you girls saying like, I feel a lot of shame because I'm struggling with masturbation, or like I'm not worthy of a good relationship, or even some of you saying, is it even wrong? Like I don't feel convicted about this. And I've been hearing so many things that I've been feeling like I just need to make this video for you guys with my own perspective, which is a little different, or a lot different than what you often hear in church. So, and I asked James to do it with me because he has a slightly different take on this than I do. And so I figured we can give you kind of each of our perspectives, and maybe that can help in your own life. So let's get right into it. Welcome back to another episode of Life Advice You Do Not Hear in Church. My name's Tiffany. This is my husband, James, and hit subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And as always, comment below, what do you think about this topic? Do you think masturbation is right or wrong, and why? We really want to hear you join the discussion.
Tiffany and I had a really good discussion about this the other night that kind of inspired this video, and she said, you know, we should do a video on masturbation, and here's what I think. And I basically said to her, I'm not really sure I think what you think, but it's very interesting what you have to say. But you know, since she brought that up, I have been thinking about this a lot, because I always thought, oh, masturbation, yeah, that's wrong, you shouldn't do it. But I never really had a reason for it other than it's kind of instinctive. And so I think it's something that's worth talking about more, and I don't think that we have all the answers, but we want you to be a part of the discussion that we're having.
So I guess for me, do I think masturbation is wrong? It can be done in an unhealthy way. Like, for example, using porn is very unhealthy. Not only, I mean, the Bible talks about not lusting after people, but more so even from the fact that like it's often created by people who are victims of sex trafficking, and there's a lot of links between porn and sex trafficking. And there's been research showing that porn changes your brain structure, it hurts relationships. So
it's essentially it's like a drug. There's a great website, fightthenewdrug.org, that talks about just all the many bad effects of porn.
Right. And it's very addictive and very hard to get out of that cycle. But I think, you know, porn is something you definitely want to work toward getting out of, even though it can take a while and a lot of work. There's no shame in that. But masturbation itself, like when it's separate from porn, I just don't know why we think it's wrong.
Oh, I guess I could tell you, I guess I've always thought that sexuality was meant to be expressed in marriage. And I guess I've always thought of masturbation as sort of like a part of sexuality.
That makes sense.
But I don't necessarily go to a specific Bible verse that says, oh, and this is why. But I just think the way that I read the Bible, it seems to me that sexuality is meant to be expressed in marriage. And certainly to the extent that masturbation is part of expressing your sexuality, I guess I've always been of the opinion that it should be just in marriage.
Yeah, I guess for me, like the Bible talks about so many different parts of our sexuality. I mean, it talks about like when to have sex in marriage, you know, that you have sex in marriage. It talks about not to have incest. It talks about like all these different parts of your sexuality, but it never once mentions masturbation, even though it's very clear on a lot of other issues.
Yeah, there is one reference to masturbation in the Bible, but it was a guy who I think masturbated before he had sex.
No. A lot of people think there's this one passage, but it's actually not about masturbation at all. The thing was in the story of Onan is that his brother's wife, his brother had died and his wife was childless. And so in that day, the law was that the brother-in-law had to sleep with the wife to give her an heir. And that sounds really weird and disgusting, but actually if you look at the culture, like women in that day didn't really have rights, and so you needed either a son or a husband or a father to take care of you. And so really this was like God's way of looking out for the vulnerable, looking out for the widow and the oppressed. And so even though it sounds totally nasty, that's what that was about. And so Onan was like, well, I don't want to give her an heir. So he had sex with her and then he pulled out, and so that she couldn't get pregnant. And that's why God was mad at him, because he didn't uphold that duty. He didn't take care of her. And so it was really about looking out for that woman. It wasn't about masturbation at all.
Yes, that's definitely true. I think it's possible that he could have masturbated before having sex with her.
Right, but that's not why he was in trouble even if he did.
Exactly.
Right.
That's definitely true. Definitely true.
But like masturbation is going on for centuries. I mean, like the whole, it's part of the human experience for a lot of people. It's very natural. It's very normal. And the Bible never once talks about it. And so to me, like,
that is a good point.
When the Bible like doesn't address something, and then we do, it just feels a little too much like the Pharisees, like trying to fill in the blanks and make up rules so that will never go wrong. And I think for me, like God was not happy, Jesus was not happy with the Pharisees about doing that, about adding all these rules to try and make it so no one ever messed up, because God wants a relationship with us. He wants us to come to him and talk to him about these things and not try to like create rules for everybody. So I guess to me, like saying masturbation is wrong is creating a rule that the Bible does not give us. And
I certainly think there are absolutely contexts where masturbation is okay. And I can think of, there are some of my friends who are married and they're separated by COVID, one in America, one in Europe. And the way that they express themselves sexually to each other is through masturbation.
Right.
That's what they have right now. And that's okay. Similarly, if we were in a situation where a spouse was really sick, I think that that would be totally okay. So I definitely, I guess I would agree with you that saying across the board masturbation is wrong is just, isn't true. It's just a question of in what context might it be okay.
I mean, I think for a lot of women, again, I don't know what it's like for guys, I'm not a guy, but for a lot of women, it's actually like a very, how do I say this, biological process. It's not about even lust. I know a lot of women who are strong Christians who have a real deep relationship with God, and they would say like, this is just how I go to sleep at night. Like it's not about like lusting after someone in my mind. It's literally like, it helps me relax. It helps me go to sleep. And some of my friends have said, I look forward to it at the end of a day to like relax. And it's not even really, I don't know if I can say this, it's not even really like super sexual for a lot of women. It's very like biological.
That's very interesting. I think for guys, a lot of times masturbation is inextricably linked to lust. I don't know if that's true for all guys, but I guess I've always thought that it was. And a lot of times, you know, lust is definitely wrong. So if you're masturbating while lusting, to me, that's a habit that you should get away from. But yeah, I mean, men and women are definitely biologically different, so I can see how potentially it could be different for women. And I think God doesn't react to the things you do with shame.
True.
I think that God does, that your conscience will sometimes respond or should respond if you're doing something that you shouldn't. But I don't think that God tries to shame you or use guilt. Because to me, that's just not a part of who God is. So even if you ultimately should stop, whether it's masturbation or some other habit that you're convicted is destructive for you, or that is destructive, I don't think that God is going to overwhelm you with shame. I think that's something that doesn't come from God.
Agreed.
So I think, to me, shame is definitely a red flag. If you're experiencing deep shame about something, there's something that you need to process and work through, because that isn't God's loving way of drawing you closer to himself.
And if you're experiencing a lot of shame, I would actually encourage you to find a counselor to talk with about that. And if you're looking for a counselor, there's this company I work with. They're an affiliate or sponsor of mine, and I have an affiliate link down below that you can check them out. They do online counseling anywhere in the world, so it's COVID safe. They're Christian counselors, but you can choose like the level of involvement of your faith in your sessions, from like super involved to like just strictly clinical. So if you want a counselor, if you need someone, check out that link below. But I would really encourage you, like, find a mentor, find a counselor to talk about that with if shame is taking over in your mind and your life.
Yeah.
So I guess for me personally, I think like masturbation is a very personal conviction. And with personal convictions, you need to think about it, pray about it, and talk with people you trust about it. Yeah, so I guess these are my honest thoughts on this topic. Please comment below, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, we'd be interested in hearing from you.
We'd love to hear from you in this discussion. And thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Love you guys. Bye.